Hello everyone, Spectre here, back in with our Mario Contest Champions video. Today, we're going to be doing another top 10 list, and this time we're just going over the top 10 champions I want in the game. And before we tackle anything, you see the length of the video. You may be wondering, why is it so long? Well, that's just because I thought another spin on it, that not only am I going to tell you guys the champions I want, but typically when I want, or when I like a character to be in the game, typically I also want to enjoy their play style and definitely like how they play and stuff like that. So I thought it'd be cool to completely make the champion as well, which you will see exactly what I mean by that. So that's why this is going to be super long, because I create their abilities and everything. I thought it really cool. So yeah, that's why the length of the video is pretty crazy. And yeah, without further ado, there's only one more thing I want to get into before starting who is going to be here with this right here. These are purely fan-made and are not official, leaked, real, etc., anything like that. It is just for fun. Again, not real. Don't work for Kabam. Don't know the process or whatever, or who's getting added. None of that. And yeah, let me actually go back to this. And as I said before in my the video going over the community choice this year, one of the champions that were on there was actually on this list, because I've been in the process of making this Google Slides for about a month now. Turns out it takes a lot, lot of like theorizing of how to make a champion. So yeah, that's why it took so long. I also, I wanted to make sure that I did it after the community choice ended, just so I didn't give any like incentive for viewers to vote the character that I want, because I don't like when YouTubers do that, be like, oh, vote for this guy, or vote for this girl, or just vote for this champion. I don't like that. Let's start tasting my mouth. However, the champion I wanted unfortunately lost, and obviously they're on here, so I thought it'd be perfect to add them. And also, I'll be starting with my most wanted and going to my least wanted, but obviously top 10, I want them all pretty much more than anyone. So just because I have one character at 10 does not mean I don't want them. In fact, they are the 10 champions I want the most. So yeah, let's get into it. Number 1, Shumagorath. You may also know him, probably more of you know him from the game Marvel vs. Capcom 3, or just the Marvel vs. Capcom series in general. He made a couple appearances, and yeah, that has to be my favorite video game of all time. Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Loved it. Whew. And yeah, that was my first introduction to Shumagorath. I just loved him. I thought he was so fun to play. And yeah, just over the years, he just became this, he was just this really obscure, super powerful character that I just loved. And yeah, he's just the number one character I'd want in the game. But let's just go over his abilities real quick. So obviously he's a Mystic class. He's a villain. He'd be a size XL because he's a big boy. Even though he can change his size a bit, I definitely think size XL is fitting for him, perfect. And then I didn't know whether to go Elder or God, or even if any, but I feel like either would apply to him, since he's like an old god. But typically I think God, the God tag is saved for like as guardians or stuff like that, so maybe he's an Elder. I don't know, either one of these I feel like he'd get the tag. He's definitely a dimensional being, and he definitely has psychic shielding. Now, as for his immunities, he's immune to Poison, Shock, Power Lock, Drain, Steel, Burn, Siphon, and Leech. And then obviously with Psychic Shielding comes with Reverse Control Immune. Not always the case though, but for Shumagorath it is the case. And I thought it'd just be cool, because something about Shumagorath is he's always trying to attain power. So I thought something cool to make him unique is you could not steal his power at all. Like, his power is his. Always active. All light and medium attacks damage is split between 50% physical damage and 50% energy damage. So whenever you make contact with the opponent, you're always going to have like two numbers. You'll have the white number and the red number. Sometimes the white can be yellow because of crit, but I'll get into that in a second. Speaking of critical hits place an energy vulnerability on the opponent max stack of 20. So this right here is how you will be able to increase your basic attacks through the energy damage specifically. But also, regarding special attacks, you will see that these energy vulnerabilities what's it called? They are also kind of a currency for Shumagorath. Gorath does not crit naturally. Instead, whenever he nullifies or staggers an opponent's buff, he gains a precision buff that consumes 1 at a time per strike against the opponent and guarantees a critical hit. Precision buffs won't get consumed when striking the opponent's block. This works with the Dexterity Mastery precision buff as well. So something you could do with Shumagorath is, kind of like how Stark Spray, where you're getting like your poise charges by using Dexterity. With him, it's like use Dexterity, go in, and that's how you could probably gain or stack up these energy vulnerabilities if it's not like a buff heavy matchup where he's always able to nullify and stagger opponent's buff. So it still makes him viable in pretty much all matchups. But other way, speaking of the nullify, that's where the heavy attack comes in. So each hit nullifies a buff and does not consume precision buff. So this means this attack cannot be critical hit or a critical hit, but it still allows you to build up your precision buffs to get, these guaranteed critical hits by just, eating his ball. I'm thinking with like the animation, it kind of like he turns his like eyeball into like a mouth and like kind of like chomps at you. So I thought that'd be cool. So yeah, each of the heavy attacks steals a buff, and that's if it's a buff heavy matchup, you don't really have to worry about doing the whole dexing, I guess, kind of strategy. You can just kind of start just nullifying the buffs. Also, I came up with a new debuff. So for light ending combos, inflict the opponent with a chaos debuff, new debuff for X seconds. Also, whenever I put X, it just means like I don't really have an idea of what the value could be. I'm not gonna pretend I'm gonna make the numbers values or anything like that. So yeah, whenever you see X, it just means like I don't know the number. And yeah, okay, so for X seconds, reducing passive buff duration and passive ability accuracies by 30%. Because I thought this was cool, because when it comes to like passives, it doesn't really feel like you could do anything about passives. So like most Mystic champions, like they only do stuff to buffs. They can't do anything to passives. So I think something that Gorath can do that no other champion could do is deal with these passive abilities. And I think that it just makes him super unique, because whenever I was making these champions, I wanted to go for a unique approach to something like they can do. Whether it be a niche or something that's pretty broad, like just dealing with passive buffs. And yeah, on defense, striking Gorath has an X% chance to inflict the attacker with a chaos buff. So yeah, makes him a little bit annoying on defense, but not really if you don't rely on passives. And then also, for all special attacks, precision buffs are paused during special attacks. So it just means that like each special attack will only consume one of your guaranteed critical hit. And then speaking of special attacks, special 1, if a critical hit, gain a passive fury for X seconds, max stack 5. I'll talk about playstyles after this. Each Cosmic Leech inflicts a stagger debuff on the opponent. So when I say each Cosmic Leech, so I'm talking more specifically about like the animation wise. I'm gonna try to reference I guess animations for Shumagorath specifically, because a lot of them do come from Marvel vs. Capcom 3, because again I love that game. And what I'm thinking is like that one move where he's like barraged you with a bunch of like the little spinny wheel things. Well, I call those Cosmic Leeches. And I'm thinking with each hit, it inflicts a stagger. So you remember how I was talking about nullifying stagger? That's also something you can do with the special 1. Special 2, consume 10 energy vulnerabilities. So that goes into the currency. This is like kind of your big damage special, So if you're going for like the just damage, this is what you can do, or like little short burst damage. I'll get into the special 1 playstyle in a second, but yeah. So yeah, consume 10 energy vulnerabilities. Beam hits inflict an incinerate debuff on the opponent, dealing damage based on the amount of energy vulnerabilities consumed. If critical, incinerates become critical incinerates and become passive. This attack generates 50% less power in the opponent. So yeah, pretty crazy ability. Of course, I definitely like the addition of like it generating 50% less power into the opponent, because like sometimes when I'm trying to just do some damage, like a hard hitting special attack, and I'm really playing aggressive, it's like you always have to worry about baiting out special attacks, where it's like this special 2, you can just throw it and not have to worry about the opponent getting to that special 3. Unless they're really close to the special 3, then obviously they'll get to that special 3. Speaking of special 3, Shumagorath special 3. I had fun with this one. Opponents are inflicted with an indefinite Perforate and Power Leech passive. So if you know what Puffer is, it's the thing that makes it so you can't use your special attacks. And over time, in the Power Leech passive, it basically drains their power slowly, and you gain the power slowly. So yeah, I thought that would be cool. And yeah, these debuffs go away when the opponent reaches 0 power. Gorath gains 100% of power leech, by the way, and cannot be used for 30 seconds. So it's cooldown, not super broken, but pretty crazy. Especially if you use it when they have 3 bars of power, there's nothing they can do. You're just getting all that power, and plus you can still gain power naturally as well. And I think something you can do is, like, speaking of, I keep talking about the special 1 playstyle, but I wanted to get the special 3 to really talk about it in full context. Basically, what you could do is, you're just building up energy vulnerabilities, because again, Gorath does a lot of energy damage, and then you can use the special 3 when they are at 3 bars of power, and then you're just gaining all the power leech, so you're able to just stack up special 1 over and over and over and get these passive furies, making your basic hits deal even more damage. Plus, something else you could do if the opponent's not dead yet is you could throw a nice hard-hitting special 2. Or you could just go special 2, I assume it would do like a nice bit of damage. But yeah, definitely like a lot of versatile ways for Gorath. Like, even if you don't even use special attacks, you could definitely ramp up that basic attack damage with those energy vulnerabilities. So definitely, he has a lot of different playstyles. I really had fun creating Gorath, but it's not over yet. We got the pre-fight ability, Virtual Omnipotence. So one of my favorite characters is Apocalypse. And again, one thing about these characters is I wanted to create characters that I want to play. So what better to do than to look at characters that I do like playing and that I do like their kit. So I thought, wouldn't it be cool if Shuma Gorath had like the Horseman type ability, but for Mystic champions? So we don't have that for like an Apocalypse for Mystic, and so I thought it'd be really cool to give them kind of like a Horseman ability of their own called Virtual Omnipotence. And yeah, so basically it works the exact same as the Horseman ability, except it only works for Mystic champions, and of course Gorath does not benefit from this. It's only for the next Mystic champion other than Gorath that enters the fight, and they become Virtual Omnipotent. And so yeah, these Mystic champions passively generate 5% of a bar of power per second. So kind of like how you have like some champions like Dragon Man. I think Mangog is a good one. Or speaking of Dragon Man, Mangog's like, yeah, they will be just gaining so much power because they have that natural power gain as well, and it'll just be really, really OP. And then for the champions that like don't have that passive power gain, that have the the flat their standard combat power rate, it's like that. This will be like such a really good ability for them to have. Like they could just be cycling even more special attacks. Special attack hits deal a burst of energy damage, increasing in damage per buff, nullified, stagger, prevented, etc. throughout the fight. So yeah, you could also do even more damage based on like whether or not you can nullify buffs. If it's like buff heavy matchups, this will be even crazier. And then just in general, gain X energy resistance. So I'm thinking, it'd be a pretty high number, so you could probably, like, more often than not, willpower healing through stuff like Cold Snap, Cold Snap, and just really energy damage over time debuffs. It will definitely nice, kind of like how Absorbing Man, whatever his numbers are. For the Awaken ability, Ruler of Hundreds of Dimensions. When defeating a Mystic, Cosmic, #God or #Elder champion, gain 10% of missing health in the next fight. So this just comes from like what he does in the comics is he goes after these like really powerful things, and he is power hungry. He wants to get power and attain infinite power. And so I thought you have a little sustainability, which obviously is locked behind the Awaken ability, but he's not really missing out on damage. I feel like when I created a lot of Awaken abilities, I didn't want to make champions who relied on it. I wanted to make it so like just something nice, and I saw sustainability as something nice, not needed. And then going along with that, this is where the sig level depends. When the opponent's buff or passive gets removed, prevented, or expires, Gorath regenerates X to X health based on sig level. So it adds even more sustain in those preferred matchups. But it's not done yet. we're doing synergies as well, because whenever a new champion comes out, I always think, okay, what are the synergies looking at? Are they going to be able to make or break certain characters, or make some of these older characters viable? I just get really giddy to see new synergies, so I thought it'd be fun to create some synergies of my own. The great old ones, Shumagorath. So it's only solo synergy. For each other mystic on the team, Gorath starts a fight with plus 25% of the bar power. So if you go with all full mystic, he starts a fight with 1 bar power, which is pretty cool. Again, a lot of this idea comes from Apocalypse. And then, okay, next up, here's where I had fun. So God Emperor Doom. Now, going over these synergies, you're going to notice a trend. It's basically, I was thinking of a handful of Mystic champions that had, in the comics, they had a next level form. And so I thought it'd be really cool if all of his synergies were basically, just bringing certain characters up to that next level of their form. And so what better to start with than God Emperor Doom. If virtually omnipotent, Special 3 Furies can stack up to 4, and while at 3 or more Fury buffs, Special 2 Incinerates can be critical Incinerates. So Doom basically just becomes broken. I think this synergy is very broken. I do think a lot of my ideas would be very broken if implemented in the game, but again, this is all for fun. So yeah, that's Dr. Doom, really becomes God Emperor Doom in my opinion. Strange Supreme, with Shumagorath and Dr. Strange. So Dr. Strange, if virtually omnipotent, copy opponent's buffs lasting 1 second when striking them or their block. Buffs copied are paused until Dr. Strange dashes back. Additionally, gain a passive fury increasing attack by X for X seconds every time Strange switches spells. So I think this just makes Doctor Strange so much better, because he especially if he's in a matchup where he can copy really good buffs, and just again, if he just plays aggressive, doesn't dash back, I feel like he could be a really, really good character. And then the passive fury buff is just is just always nice to have. Gives him some damage if he isn't able to really copy buffs. So yeah, I don't think it's so broken for Doctor Strange, but it's certainly better than the Strange we have. Alright, Lord of the Dark Dimension with Dormammu. So Dormammu, if virtually omnipotent, dark energy charge limit is 200, where normally it was only 100, so it doubles, and imbued hits only consume 50 charges. So basically how Dormammu works is, he can get to 100 of his dark energy charges, and then when he would do an imbued hit, it consumes all of them. So this allows you to get 4 of these imbued attacks, and also these imbued attacks are also guaranteed crits. So for Dormammu, pretty good synergy. It makes it so you don't lose all of your ramp in just one hit. It allows you to do a little bit more and be a little bit more flexible, in my opinion. Alright, last up we got Ghost Rider, Zarathos. And if you don't know what Zarathos is, that is the the spirit of vengeance that possesses Ghost Rider and makes him, Ghost Rider. So Ghost Rider, are virtually omnipotent, judgments gain plus 100% ability accuracy. So I always found it really annoying, whereas Ghost Rider, his judgments had only a 50% chance to activate. It should be 100%. You could use a special 2 and not gain that power drain. It's very annoying. And then also, for each judgment on the opponent, Ghost Rider's basic attack gains plus 20% chance to inflict incinerate debuffs. These debuffs can be critical incinerates, while at 5 or more judgments. Oh wait, hold on. These incinerates can be critical incinerates. While at 5 or more judgments, critical incinerates are guaranteed. So basically, if you're fully ramped, you got all the judgments, Ghost Rider is just going to be a balls to the walls incinerate champion. And Ghost Rider isn't the best champion in the game. He doesn't have a lot of utility anymore, by today's standards. So giving him just all that damage is really good for Ghost Rider. I love Ghost Rider. I want him to get buffed so bad. But let's move on to the next champion, Deadpool movie. So I really would like a version of Deadpool in this game that is good, because Deadpool is my favorite fictional character of all time, and I have him as a 6-star. I have the Red Deadpool as a 6-star. And he's just bad. I want an actual Deadpool that is playable, because I don't think I wouldn't count him as playable. He is that bad. So yeah, Deadpool movie. I'm actually hoping this like actually comes to fruition because with the Deadpool movie coming out, so this is very possible. And again, I hope so. I would love an actual good version of Deadpool. He is obviously a mutant. He is still a mercenary, size medium, X-Force, Canadian, and I thought it'd be funny to give him psychic shielding, and he'd be immune to reverse controls. Because in the comics, you know, people who try to read Deadpool's mind go insane. So I don't think anyone would be able to like mess with his mind. Therefore, he would not be able to have his controls reversed. A little bit of a stretch, you know. Again, I hate reverse controls. This is my character that I'm making, or these are like champions that I'm making that I want to play. I could do whatever the hell I want. So yeah, I hate reverse controls. So you know, more reverse control immune characters, the better. And then heal block unless against a tech champion. And don't worry, I made sure you know that his regen isn't super broken. Speaking of the regeneration. Always active. When falling below 50% max health, Deadpool's healing factor kicks in, regenerating a flat X health per second. This regen stops when Deadpool would restore back to 50% max health. So basically, you know, it just makes it so, you know, whenever he is below 50% health, he's always regenerating to get back to that 50% health. But also, I wanted to make sure it wasn't so broken, so I made it 15% health, like 15%, just so, you know, you're always like really close to death, so it's not super broken that he's always regenerating. But like Deadpool should have a crazy regen, so I think this was a nice balanced medium to have. Also, if Deadpool for any reason fails to activate a prowess buff, this regeneration is stopped for 10 seconds. So it also gives a little counterplay to, you know, if you're fighting him on like while he's on defense, there's definitely some counterplay if you don't have a counter to his regeneration. And so I thought that was also pretty fair. Alright, bang attacks. So these are just attacks that involve his guns. And these attacks are Deadpool's first medium attack, first and fourth light attack, and all hits of his special one are bang attacks. And these attacks can crit through block if the opponent is suffering from a bleed, disorient, or incinerate debuffs, and do not make contact. So yeah, he's going to be very annoying with trying to parry him, because you can't really even reparry him until his second light attack. Heavy attack. For each hit of the heavy attack on a non-stunned opponent, place a bleed debuff on them for X seconds. So a little more skill, you know, you don't want to just, you know, parry heavy attack. You know, you want to make sure you can get at least one bleed debuff just so you could do some extra damage through blocks with the bang attacks. And also, especially for that special one, which I believe is, yep, it's on this slide. Okay, striking an opponent's block. If a crit through block occurs, gain a prowess buff for X seconds. If an opponent's ability fails to trigger, you also gain a prowess buff. And so a lot of Deadpool is about, you know, getting these prowess buffs because you want to use this special one. More importantly, through block, which we'll get into in a second. But yeah, anyway, getting to the special one. Consume one prowess buff and gain a precision buff, increasing crit rating by X seconds. And so that just makes it you can crit through block, or you can more efficiently crit through block with this precision buff. And anyway, and then also because you gain a prowess every time you crit through block, you're just going to be able to stack up more and more prowesses the more special ones you use into their blocks. Are able to do more and more damage. The special 2, place incinerate on the opponent for X seconds. So yeah, this is where you get your little incinerate. And the special 3. Deadpool confuses his opponents due to his antics and inflict them with an indefinite disorient debuff at 20% potency, max stack 2. So you're able to use this twice to get 2 disorients that reduce the ability accuracy by 40%, and it allows you to consistently build even more prowesses. So yeah, Deadpool, a lot of prowesses, a lot of damage to that SP1 or SP2 if you choose to go that way. But again, I do like being able to, you know, spam special ones with my champions, and so a lot of stock goes into the special one when it comes to damage, especially when we get to the awakened ability. Speaking of which, the awakened ability, maximum effort. All personal debuffs become passive when fighting skill champions. Oh wait, why did I say become passive? I don't know, typo. I'm stupid. All right, and then also here's where the SIG comes in. When using special attack, gain X to X block penetration based on SIG level. So yeah, with Deadpool, you're gonna probably want him to be more so high SIG, but with 7 stars, you're able to do stat focus and choose the block penetration, you know, stat anyway. So again, I feel like with Deadpool, you know, if he was to become like between a 6-star and a 7-star, you could still feel happy about using the 7-star even if he's unawakened. And that's really why, I put a lot of stock into the special 1, because if you're using it in the block, you're just going to do so much block damage. It's going to be probably like even better than, hitting them not through block. Okay, synergies. All the studio could afford. So also, obviously, these are all references, within the Deadpool movies, not really a whole lot of comic stuff, because, this is the movie version specifically. And this synergy is with Deadpool, Colossus, and Negasonic. So for Deadpool, increase the potency of each debuff or passive by 10%. So nice to have, not needed. Just a little extra. Colossus, intercepting an opponent's heavy with your heavy grants you a fury buff increasing attack by X based on your armor rating for 3 seconds and converts an armor up buff into a permanent armor up buff. So I think this synergy with Colossus would be really nice to have, because it just makes it so, if you're in a matchup where they are stun immune, you could still reliably get your little heavy attack fury as well. And as an added bonus, you can convert your armor up buff into a permanent armor up buff. So it makes it so if you don't have your Colossus awakened, you could still manage to get these permanent armor up buffs that last through the fight, and it also encourages a more skillful play style with Colossus, where maybe you don't want to go for parry heavy attack, you want to try to beat out their heavy attack. And then with Negasonic, obviously she's not in the game, but I feel like with this synergy, she kind of needed to be there, so I just put some question marks. And you'll notice that throughout these, some champions will have synergies with characters that aren't in the game, and I just put question marks because I thought, how Kabam likes to tease new champions with like question mark synergies, so I thought I could do some of those as well. And then huge fan, Deadpool and Juggernaut. So if you don't know, Ryan Reynolds is actually a huge Juggernaut fan, and he actually voiced him in Deadpool 2. And how Deadpool kept saying he's a huge fan. Well, I'm pretty sure that was like mostly coming from Ryan Reynolds. So I thought it'd be a fun synergy, and I also thought that was like a fun fact. But anyway, with Deadpool, gain an unstoppable passive for 1.5 seconds after using a special attack. So this just makes you super safe to launch a special attack into block. Sure, you'll need Juggernaut, but I mean, as long as you're using your special attack from as far away as possible, you should be safe regardless. But this makes you extra safe. And then with Juggernaut, timer to gain unstoppable buffs after a maximum momentum strike is reduced by 3.5 seconds. So how Juggernaut works is once you have max unstoppable buffs and you hit the opponent, you gain a maximum momentum strike, and that makes it so you cannot gain your unstoppable buffs for 7 seconds. So I reduced that timer in half just to make him a little more speedy and a little more fun to play. And so we got some more synergies. Same person, Deadpool, Cable, and Thanos. So Deadpool, healing factor activates when dropping below. Okay, no, that should not be 60. Yeah, I meant to put 20, not 60. Okay, so that should be 20. And yeah, that just makes him, a little more sustainable on attack. Cable, special 2 inflicts a plasma passive instead. So, little different damage, probably even, better damage. Makes it so they can't shrug it off. Nothing crazy, but I didn't know what else to do with Cable. And Thanos, special attacks when thrown guarantees to trigger one of these abilities at random. So for the Reality Stone, inflict the opponent with a Caltrops debuff. For the Mind Stone, stun for 2 seconds. Time, no power spent. Power, gain a Cosmic Radiation buff for 5 seconds. Space, gain 2 EV charges. Soul, regen a portion of damage dealt for the duration of the special attack. So yeah, just some nice stuff, that goes in line with, the Infinity Stones. Because, Thanos sucks. Thanos really sucks. Why can't he be good? Have these the Infinity Stone abilities. So I thought it'd be fun to give him with synergy. I knew we'd get here. Deadpool, Wolverine. So that is a reference to, Wolverine and Deadpool joining the MCU. So I thought that was funny. Anyway, with Deadpool, healing factor timer is reduced by 3 seconds. So that little timer that can make him stop regenerating at 10 seconds, now is only at 7 seconds. So a little something cool if, he keeps getting his regen stopped. Alright, Wolverine. Activating a special 3 triggers Wolverine's Berserker Rage for 15 seconds. Each hit grants Wolverine a vicious buff, max stack 4. So definitely paired with making Wolverine a horseman as well. Horseman Wolverine is definitely going to be doing much more damage with those critical bleeds. And then we have Green. Are we allowed to name drop him? Which is a reference to Green Lantern with Deadpool movie, Iron Fist, Moondragon, Scorpion, and Vision Classic. So that is definitely a reference to like that one quote from Deadpool 1 where it's like, just don't make the suit green or animated. Obviously, all these characters have sport green suits. And for all Synergy members, gain plus 5% increased damage for each Synergy member present when fighting champions sporting the color green. I don't know if this would I don't know how this would work with coding wise, what champions would count as sporting the color green. Because technically Hulk's green, but would that kind of sporting the color green? I don't know. Just for fun, I don't know if this would be if this would even be possible, but I thought it was a fun little synergy that I actually added last minute, literally just last night. Alright, and then here we go. Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe with Deadpool and Psycho Man. Deadpool. If the team is comprised of no one but a knocked out Psycho Man and himself, Deadpool gains a plus 30% damage flat. So this is obviously a reference to Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe. And yeah, this is a more so comic-based synergy, but I just thought it'd be fun to have. And yeah, obviously, probably not the best synergy, but it's a fun one. So yeah, that is Deadpool move. Speaking of Deadpool, now we have Madcap. Madcap is a wacky character, and I love him. And yeah, he is a mutant champion, just like Deadpool. And also, he has the villain tag, the size small tag, and he's also a mercenary. So yeah, very similar to Deadpool. And basically what his powers are in the comics is he has the ability to make others go insane. I believe it's called insanity inducing. And basically how that works is if he touches you, makes eye contact with you, or even if you hear his voice, he can make you go insane. And he in the comics he has this bubble gun that he can shoot at you, and if you touch the bubbles, that can also allow him to, I guess, trigger his effects on you. Always active. When Madcap would take any sort of non-contact direct damage, Madcap gains an indestructible passive for 3 seconds, cooldown is 6 seconds, and gains 5 madness. Get into madness in a second. A lot of things generate madness, but going into the ability, basically, so stuff like Dormammu's degeneration, or I think just degeneration in general. I think Power Stings would work for this. Mephisto's Aura of Incineration, Dominus Critical Failure, or even just stuff like the Recoil Mastery that just taking damage when using a special attack. I think that would also trigger this indestructible buff, and so it makes him a really versatile champion for a lot of matchups with this fun and interactive damage, as well as being a really good suicide mastery champion. And yeah, again, we don't like taking random damage, so yeah, it's always going to be fun to be able to mitigate that, or even just ignore it in general. Madcap is also immune to the effects of reverse controls, and instead, whenever he would be suffering from reverse controls, he gains 1 madness every 0.2 seconds. So if he's under reverse controls, he's just going to be building up madness like insane. It's going to be madness, you could say. Also, when an opponent's ability fails to trigger, gain 4 madness. Again, get into madness in a second. Let's just talk about the ways to get madness first. Heavy attack. Madcap uses his bubblegum to drive his opponents mad and inflict them with a loony passive for 10 seconds. What does this loony passive do? Well, let's get into it. While blocking, Madcap can place an Intimidate debuff on himself and the opponent for 5 seconds if he initiates block while the opponent is suffering from loony. Strikes into the block from either champion while intimidated grants Madcap 4 madness. Also, if a skilled champion shrugs or purifies their intimidate, plays a passive with 50% duration. So yeah, makes him really good against skilled champions. Also, when striking, Madcap places an infuriate debuff on both himself and the opponent for 5 seconds. If either champion makes physical contact with each other with a basic attack that is not through block while the opponent is suffering from loony. So yeah, a lot of word there to explain it. Basically, it's the opposite of the intimidate. Basically, if he hits you or they hit you, they get infuriated, and it just makes it so whenever either champion strikes each other, they gain or you gain 4 madness. I forgot to put that for this one, but it's basically just the opposite of blocking. And yeah, again, you want to make sure you use that heavy attack before you can start manipulating the AI. Also, when using a striker, gain 4 madness. So it makes it, also, very efficient if he has a striker equipped it as well. Now, anyway, what is madness? Here is madness. So basically, you're trying to build up to 100 madness. And when reaching the madness cap, you gain an insanity passive for 15 seconds, granting the following: permanent unblockable passive, plus X attack rating. Special attacks cost no power, but only a special one can be used. No indestructible cooldown, no longer gains madness, cannot gain power. So, a lot of positives, a lot of negatives. And what this means is you can just keep spamming special ones. Again, you know me. I love it when I can just sit and spam specials, and it's just a grand old time. So yeah, a lot of that stock is being able to just throw your specials, your permanent unblockable. You also have some increased attack rating. The only bad thing is if you don't time this right and you get insanity when you're less than 1 bar of power. Guess what? You can't gain power. Only a special one can be used. I guess you just only have the attack rating and the permanent unblockable passive. So it adds a little bit of skill to him where you want to make sure you time it right. And yeah, that's a really its only downside, or I guess not really a downside, but something you gotta look out for. Anyway, special attacks: gain a prowess buff upon activation for 10 seconds. Prowess buffs are paused during insanity. So basically, it just makes it so even if you, even when you lose insanity, you still have a bit of ramp up at least for 10 seconds. But anyway, let's go with the special one. So this is the one you're going to be spamming a lot. Place a disorient debuff on the opponent at 50% potency for X seconds. During insanity, disorients are passives and gain plus 10% potency. So you're going to be able to reduce the opponent's ability accuracy by a lot. And I think definitely you'll be able to just at least get 3, even 4 special ones with your insanity spam. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of ability accuracy reduction there. Anyway, for the special 2, place a wackiness debuff on the opponent. This effect reverses one's controls and deals a burst of damage when dashing. So this is going to make him really annoying on defense if you push him to the special 2, because even if you adjust yourself to the reverse controls, you're still going to take a burst of damage with dashing. So yeah, it's going to be really annoying, some BS damage. Anyway, the special 3, gain 50 madness charges and inflict the opponent with a concussion debuff, reducing ability accuracy by 100% for X seconds. So this is just some real quick ramp if I guess you can't build up madness either way, or you don't like his play style, or it's just not working for you. Yeah, you can still use some special 3s, get some madness, and there you go. The awakened ability, saner than most. Whenever Madcap performs an action that grants him madness charges, gain 1 persistent charge that can carry to the next fight, and start the fight with as many madness charges as persistent charges. So this just makes it that, you don't always have to start at square one every fight. You can, persist it, kind of like how Aegon is with his combo, or Strife is with his little telepathic charges. Also, whenever Madcap would be knocked out, instead gain an indestructible passive for X to X seconds. This obviously depends on Sig. The more Sigs, the longer the indestructible passive it is. And yeah, going on to synergies. Oh yeah, there's a little bubble gun. See how squirting bubbles? Alright. Burning Sensation, Madcap, and Daredevil Classic. Madcap inflicts himself with an incinerate at 1% potency when inflicting the opponent with a Loony for X seconds. So basically, this is a reference to the comics where he fought Daredevil, and Daredevil thought he burnt to death, but he, obviously he didn't burn to death. So I thought it'd be funny to be able to give yourself a little bit of willpower healing, with also referencing the comics with that incinerate debuff. Daredevil. The final hit of Daredevil special attacks have perfect release. If perfect release, Daredevil inflicts an armor break debuff on the opponent and gains a dialed-in passive max stack of 5, increasing all debuff potency by X%. So yeah, adds a little bit of, ramp up to Daredevil, increases his damage a bit with the armor breaks, and also it further increases the next armor break. So again, Daredevil Classic, love Daredevil, wish he was better in this game. I'm funny with Madcap and She-Hulk. Place a taunt debuff on the opponent when knocking them down for X seconds. So a little something extra for Madcap, makes the AI a little bit more aggressive. Just again adds that idea of AI manipulation with Madcap. Also helps She-Hulk because you want the opponent to constantly use special attacks, and just some extra taunt ability surely doesn't hurt. Again with Madcap and Ghost Rider. So this is a reference to, I guess the name of the synergy is a reference to when Madcap got penance stared by Ghost Rider, and he I guess he was just so blown away. He loved the feeling of it. So that's really weird, but yeah, I thought it was funny. Looney lasts an additional 3 seconds against hero champions. And then also with Ghost Rider, using Special 3 inflicts a degeneration passive onto villain champions, getting more and more potent based on the amount of bars of power they use throughout the fight. So we finally give Ghost Rider the penance stare, and again, it only works on villain champions. And because the penance stare, is more and more potent based on someone's misdeeds, I thought, a villain champion, the amount of bars of powers they use kind of translates to, misdeeds. So, more power they use, the more misdeeds they do. So I thought that was a funny little, correlation there. The biggest crazies with Madcap, Deadpool Classic, Deadpool X-Force, and Venompool. Madcap gained an additional madness charge when performing actions that would grant him madness charges. So instead of 4 charges, you get 5 charges, so it increases ramp by a ton. Deadpool Classic. All basic hits inflict the opponent with a permanent bleed debuff, dealing 1% of Deadpool's modified attack, max stack 99. So it turns into a little mini Zemo, Baron Zemo Jr. And again, Deadpool's attack isn't super high to begin with, so I don't think it's that crazy. Also, he's a little bit of Star-Lord in a sense where, if Deadpool is struck, all the bleeds fall off. So, you gotta play perfectly. Alright, anyway, Deadpool X-Force. 50% chance to not consume any slap charges when performing a super slap. So again, makes it so, you don't immediately lose all your ramp when you do this super slap. 50% of the time. So it's not super broken. You can still lose it, but hey, sometimes you can just super slap right again. Venompool. Basic attacks have a 10% chance for each buff on Venom or on Venompool to inflict a bleed debuff on the opponent, dealing X damage over X seconds. So just some extra damage for Venompool. And yeah, that's Madcap. Alright, right here we got Jack-O-Lantern. And specifically, when I'm talking about Jack-O-Lantern, I want the Crime Masters version. I think the Crime Masters version of Jack-O-Lantern is super cool. And again, I would love him in the game. Of course, I mean, obviously, he's in my top 10. And yeah, so specifically, Crime Masters Jack-O-Lantern. And now, when talking about Jack-O-Lantern, again, specifically Crime Masters, he could either be tech or skill, because he is like an assassin, but I think with the amount of gadgets and stuff like he uses, it more so warrants the tech class. But again, the argument is there for skill. Anyway, tags. He's a villain, size small, Sinister 6, mercenary, metal, and flying. Always active. Jack takes 100% less damage from incinerates and 50% damage reduction from Nova Flames. Additionally, while under these effects, all personal debuffs are paused. So yeah, in certain matchups, basically you're wanting to keep up your debuffs, but in certain matchups, maybe it takes a little bit of the work off your shoulders. Medium light medium combo. Inflict the opponent with a non-stacking exhaustion debuff lasting 6 seconds. Fourth light. Inflict the opponent with a non-stacking fatigue debuff lasting 6 seconds. So yeah, we got a lot of unique debuffs, and especially when we'll get to his special attacks. Heavy attack. Each hit inflicts as many bleed debuffs on the opponent as unique debuffs on them. So basically this just means excluding bleed debuffs. Refresh all exhaustion, fatigue, incinerate, poison, disorient, and armor break debuffs. So we'll get into how you inflict all these debuffs once we get to special attacks, but obviously you have your exhaustion debuff here and your fatigue debuff here. That's 2 of the 6 debuffs you want, and basically it just makes it so his heavy attack can just keep stacking up all these bleeds, because these bleeds are how you're going to do the main source of your damage, and these bleeds can ramp up and up and up. Because spoiler alert, when I was making these characters, I was trying to envision what they would be used for. With Jack-O-Lantern, I envision him to be a Everest content kind of character, and so yeah, we'll get into why that is in a second. Alright, special 1. Inflict either a non-stacking poison debuff, dealing X damage over 6 seconds, or a non-stacking armor break debuff, reducing armor rating by X for 6 seconds. If used into a heavy attack, inflict both. So that means if you just do a heavy attack and then you cancel that heavy attack into a special 1, you inflict both of them. And vice versa, and pretty much same thing with special 2. Inflict either a non-stacking incinerate or a disorient debuff for 6 seconds. If used into a heavy, inflict both. So yeah, that's how you kind of get all your unique debuffs. You want to make sure you do the light ending combo, a medium light medium combo, and then you want to use a special 1 and a special 2. and then boom, you just gotta keep those refreshed with the heavy attack. And yeah, once you got them ramped up, I guess you got all your debuffs on there. You can start going for your special 3s, or actually, I think it'd actually be more accurate to say ramp up your special 3s first, and then get onto actually spamming your specials. But we'll get into it. Anyway, special 3, gain 1 Jack-o'-lantern charge. Refresh all exhaustion, fatigue, incinerate, poison, disorient, armor break, and bleed debuffs. So yeah, special 3, pretty insane. And what do those Jack-o'-lantern charges do? Well, that's where he really becomes an Everest character. Jack-o'-lantern charges, max stack 10. Increase all personal debuff duration by 1%, or not 1%, for 1 second for each Jack-o'-lantern charge. The first Jack-o'-lantern charge gained per fight is added to persistent charges, and basically, for each persistent charge you have, means you can start the next fight with however many Jack-o'-lantern charges you have persistent charges. And what do these charges do? Well, at 2 or more, gain a permanent attack increase. At 4 or more, gain a permanent X crit rating, so you're going to be able to crit more and you're going to be able to hit harder. At 6 or more, gain a vicious buff for 5 seconds, increasing damage over time effects by 25% when charging a heavy attack. At 8 or more, when Jack charges a heavy attack while hitting a basic combo, the opponent is passively stunned for 0.75 seconds. So essentially what that means is, how like when you can be using a wasp and you can like cancel mid combo into a heavy attack, that's kind of what you can do with Jack-o'-lantern, and it makes it so you don't always have to do parry and then heavy attack. You can get your 8 charges, and then you can just be doing mid combos and then do the heavy attack that way. So makes him you're able to play him a little bit more aggressively. And then at 10, once you're fully ramped up, this is where you can start having fun, or I guess that the damage starts becoming fun, because bleeds can now be critical bleeds, and tie that with the attack rating, the crit rating, the vicious things. Like and then plus you can stack them up so highly, because again, the more unique debuffs they have on them, the more bleeds they're going to have on them. So yeah, Jack-o'-lantern is just going to be a bleed machine. Plus, if you have him with deep wounds, ooh, the numbers are going to be, you're just going to see your opponent's health drop. But again, you're still going to needing to use a ton of special 3. So in that way, I feel like it, the craziness is warranted because of how much ramp you're gonna need. Like, it's not combo ramp, it's just power ramp, I guess you could say. And yeah, so Jack-o'-lantern, he'd be so much damage. Awakened ability, All Hallows Assassin. Jack can add additional 1 or 2 Jack-o'-lantern charges to your persistent charges per fight. So normally how you see it's only 1 per fight. Well, if you have him max sig, you can add up to 2. You can carry over up to 3 Jack-o'-lantern charges per fight. So definitely makes that ramp a hell of a lot easier, and it makes it so you don't need him max sig. You can only have him at 1 sig, and you're already doubling the amount of I guess ramp you can do per fight. But if you have him sig to 100, it increases that ramp up by an additional 50% compared to having him at sig 1. So little balance there, but again, a champion that does benefit from max sig. Also, increase the potency of all personal debuffs by 1 to 5% depending on the sig. Bleed debuff potency rate is doubled. So instead of 1% for bleed debuffs, it'd be 2%, and then same vice versa, 5% it'd be 10%. So you can get up to 5 or 10% bleed potency, which again, with the amount of bleed damage he does, it's just gonna make that 10% is just gonna be crazy. And again, it's another reason why you want him at max sig. Alright, synergies. True arch enemies, Jack-o'-lantern and Agent Venom. So Jack-o'-lantern, intercepting the opponent's dash with a light or medium attack pauses all personal debuffs for 1.5 seconds. I do think that number is a bit too high. I feel like it should just be for 0.5 seconds, so you can just keep the debuffs paused by just doing intercept and go like light attack and then back up, light attack, just keep up that light intercept. I do think 1.5 is a little too long now thinking about it. Age of Venom. If the opponent is immune to Incinerate, place a Nova Flame passive instead. So yeah, that just makes Age of Venom a lot more versatile, especially if you bring him in with the Cravian Scorpion synergy. Add Jack-O-Lantern on there, and then you have a quadrio or whatever, a quadruple. Yeah, quadruplets. Axis with Jack-O-Lantern and Magneto, House of X. So when fighting with the class advantage, all debuffs become passive, and that becomes, and that's with both of them. So, yeah, pretty crazy synergy. Not gonna lie, very, very, very crazy indeed. I was bored. Jack-O-Lantern, Deadpool, and Black Panther. If Jack would be knocked out by a non-special 3 source, then instantly regen 5% of his max health and gain invulnerability passive for 1.5 seconds. So this is a reference to, when Deadpool and Black Panther fought, Jack-O-Lantern tagged along, and Deadpool just shot him in the head and killed him. And then he went to hell, which that goes into his next synergy with Ghost Rider. But yeah, I thought it was funny, he just gets shot in the head. Obviously, he comes back, so that's where the little immortality comes from. But anyway, Deadpool. While striking a bleeding opponent, gain a Fury buff lasting 15 seconds, increasing attack by +X, max stack 10. So, it helps with Deadpool's damage, because again, Deadpool is so weak. He has probably the best sustain in the game, but he is just such a noodle. So, anything to help his damage, insane. And again, if you pair that with his last synergy with Madcap, ooh, Black Panther. Entering Panther's Might grants Black Panther an armor up buff for X seconds. So, nothing too crazy. Allows him to take Havoc, though, so that's always good. Devil's Nuisance with Jack-O-Lantern and Ghost Rider. Jack-O-Lantern. Every 20 hits in the combo meter grant a cruelty buff for 10 seconds. So, definitely, when you're fully ramped up, those cruelty buffs is definitely going to help with, the critical bleed damage. Because again, it all comes back to that bleed damage. Ghost Rider. Gain an immunity to Nova Flame. So this allows him to take, what's it called? Actually, this wouldn't really matter, now thinking about it. Unless like Nova Flame becomes like an ability for like other characters. I didn't really think about it that much. I was like, oh wait, because I forgot he was immune to Incinerate now. So that doesn't make him good against Human Torch. Or I guess the Nova Flame immunity doesn't really help him that much. Oh well, who knows? This could be a synergy for the future. But yeah, that's Jack-O-Lantern. Remember, specifically Crime Master's Jack-O-Lantern. That Jack-O-Lantern is much more cooler than the other Jack-O-Lanterns. Alright, here we go. This was the champion that I was voting for, that I was rooting for the Community's Choice 2024. And that was Madam Hydra, or Viper, as they had her as. But yeah, unfortunately, she lost round 1. So I'm not optimistic into, her being added to the game anytime soon. But anything can happen. I mean, I'm pretty sure Kashala lost round 1. And, we finally got her in the game. So, one day, I'm sure Madam Hydra will get into the game. But yeah, very, very sad to see that she lost round 1. I was at least hoping for round 2, but oh well. But anyway, let's talk about what I would do if Madam Hydra was ever added to the game. She is a villain, of course, size small. She's a part of Hydra, and she's a mercenary. And immunities to acid burn and poison. So yeah, pure poisons can't do jack to her. I also should have put neurotoxin as well. So just pretend I have neurotoxin right here. Always active. Deep Wounds has the same effect on Madam Hydra's poison effects. I thought that was really cool because typically with skill champions, I do have her as a skill champion. I definitely think if she was ever at the game, she would definitely be a skill champion. No, I don't think it crosses my mind. Sure, science maybe, but I don't think so. I think 90% skills, skill, and typically with skill champions, they do a lot of bleed damage and a lot of bleed damage. So I thought it'd be cool, she could still benefit from the Deep Wound Mastery, as you would often run when using skill champions. But since Madam Hydra is more of a poison champion, it'd just be, a nice little thing to have. Also, Madam Hydra's poisons are so potent they can melt any armor. When a poison effect is on the opponent, while they have an armor up effect, the armor is consumed and the opponent is inflicted with an equal poison effect every second. So, if your opponent has a bunch of armors and you place one poison on there, that poison is just going to eat just going to constantly eat armors and just, replace it with poison. So, they have 20 armors. Guess what? 20 seconds, they're going to have 20 poisons on there. So, yeah, basically, definitely makes her, really good against heavy armor matchups, which isn't really the skill role. That's usually the cosmic role, but I'm basing these characters, when designing these characters, I'm basing it more off of what they can do in the comics rather than, typically, I guess the class wheel, because I like to think outside the box. And intercepts. Refresh poison effect. Also, before I go any further, Madam Hydra, I definitely tried to make her a really, a really skillful kind of character like Tigra or Quake or Ghost. Don't know how much I achieved that, but I do think, she definitely benefits from more of like a really skilled player. And I think that's really cool. It's always good to have make sure there's easy characters to play and hard characters to play. And going on to the heavy attack, that's where a lot of the skill comes in. Place a poison debuff on the opponent. So pretty standard. That's really how you're going to be placing a lot of your poisons. Also, when intercepting an opponent's medium or light attack with a heavy attack, place a critical poison passive on the opponent for X seconds, max stack 3. So, yeah, some champions this will be really hard to achieve, but depending if they do her heavy attack with good, a nice long-reaching animation, I feel like it could be really easy. But it's sometimes really hard to just try to intercept them with a heavy attack. And I'm not talking about the heavy intercept. No, I'm talking about just their dash or light attack intercept. I feel like a lot of skill and spacing is really going to come from that. And it's going to really give her a unique kind of play style. And again, also that critical poison, it's really going to be a nice little treat for doing a good job. Also, holding heavy attack passively infuriates the opponent, so makes it more easy for less skilled players to get that intercept with the heavy attack. And then holding block for 2 seconds purifies 1 debuff on you. Cooldown 3 seconds. So you're not able to spam this. But in matchups where you'll get a debuff on you, every so often, you could purify it. And again, because she's already immune to poison, you can instantly purify that bleed. Makes her a really good suicide champion. Special 1, refresh poison vulnerabilities, and we'll get into how you get those poison vulnerabilities once we get to the special 2. Intercepting the opponent with this attack turns all poisons into poison passives with increased potency. So again, rewards skillful play. Special 2. Deal a burst of poison damage with every hit, scaling with the amount of poisons on the opponent. So the more poisons, the better. Intercepting the opponent with this attack places a poison vulnerability passive on the opponent for X seconds for every hit. Special 3. Consume all poison effects on the opponent and inflict them with a venom passive, dealing plus 50% more damage than the combined total of all poisons consumed. When a poison would be inflicted while the opponent is suffering from venom, then venom is paused for 1 second. So I like to see this as a giant poison bomb, where it's this thing, it just is the combined total of all the poisons on the opponent at the time of triggering, and you can constantly pause this venom passive, or this venom effect by inflicting more poison. So you're always able to just keep this venom bomb of just pure damage, just up for a long while. And it will really make her really good for medium length matchups. I think she'll be really good for short matchups, and I think because of this venom bomb thing idea, it will also make her really good for long base content, even Everest content, now thinking about it. So yeah, she is very, very versatile in my opinion. Awaken ability. To live and die and live again. Yep, we have another immortality ability. When performing the heavy intercept, successfully gain a persistent charge max stack of 1. This charge is consumed when Madam Hydra would be knocked out to prevent her death, and recovers X health over X to X seconds. Basically, the more SIGs you have, the longer the regeneration is, and Madam Hydra is immune to damage while regenerating. So again, the more SIGs, the longer it is, the longer you will be immune to damage. And this can only trigger once per fight. Immortality ability. I love immortality abilities. It makes it so I can just tank a special 3, because I suck at the game. And synergies. Hail Hydra. with Madam Hydra, Red Skull, Crossbones, and Baron Zemo. Madam Hydra, light intercepts grant her a vicious passive for X seconds. Red Skull, intercepting the opponent's medium or light attack with his save attack causes a critical shock on the opponent. Crossbones, intercepting the opponent with a special attack causes fury buffs for 2 seconds. I actually love this synergy with Crossbones. I feel like, because a lot of times you're going to have like a lot of like, I guess, time that goes by of your furies possibly like expiring when you're using a special attack. So this could make it so you can use your special attack without worrying about like wasting time with your fury buffs. And then Baron Zemo, intercepting with a medium or light attack places 1 debuff. So yeah, nice for Baron Zemo, allows him to ramp up even faster. And then Breakout. So this is a reference to Avengers Earth and Mightiest Heroes, and as you can see, that's the picture I'm using here because again, I grew up with that show. That's really why I like Madam Hydra and why she was like one of my favorite characters, or was like the one I was voting for. The one I wanted to win the community vote, guys, because like I grew up watching that show. I loved that show, and I always thought she was so cool. And yeah, again, this is a reference to that show with Madam Hydra, Captain America, and Super Skrull when they were like kidnapped by the Skrulls, and then Super Skrull tried to stop them. So that's what this synergy is referencing. Madam Hydra, well-timed blocks have a chance to be perfect block. Captain America, the first special 2 thrown in a fight consumes no power. If this happens in Captain America's next, special 2 is unblockable. So what this means is that I thought it'd be cool where, you know, his special 2 is the one where you throw the shield, where, you know, you can kind of just throw the shield again, and, you know, it guarantees to hit because it's unblockable. I thought that was really cool. It'd be just a fun little synergy to do. Just special 2, special 3, you know, just keep throwing your shield. Anyway, Super Skrull. Each hit of the heavy attack has a chance to grant a fury buff for X seconds. Again, he has a lot of hits of that of the heavy attack, you know, so you probably gain some damage. And Super Skrull needs that damage. He is a noodle. And then we got our time in Madripoor. Madam Hydra, Wolverine, Sabretooth, and Lady Deathstrike. All synergy members gain X% increased potency for their damage over time effects. So yeah, it definitely helps out with Madam Hydra with her poisons, Wolverine, Sabretooth with bleeds, and Lady Deathstrike with her ruptures. So yeah, that is Madam Hydra, everyone. Again, sad to see her not win, or lose on round 1, as a matter of fact. And yeah, hoping she gets added to the game eventually. Alright everyone, so yeah, I'm going to cut this video in 2 parts, so this was just part 1. I just know that the video is dragging on for way too long. I just love to talk, and yeah, it's been over an hour. I don't want it to get anything close, you know, to 2 hours, so yeah, we're going to cut it here. I will be uploading part 2 tomorrow, and yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Yeah, these are my my top 10 champions wish list part 2. Goodbye.